The Dodgers and Giants move to California was monumental for baseball. Heck, I even made a video about it 2 years ago. So what if it didn't happen? What if the Brooklyn Dodgers and New York Giants didn't move to California and stayed in New York? Play the intro. Even though history has painted Walter O'Malley as the big evil bad guy who ripped the Dodgers from Brooklyn, that isn't the case. O'Malley wanted to stay in Brooklyn. He had a plan of replacing Ebbets Field with a state-of-the-art dome stadium. O'Malley discussed with New York construction puppet master Robert Moses a plan to have the land condemned. O'Malley would buy it, then build the stadium with his own money. Moses shot the plan down and offered O'Malley land in Queens, not Brooklyn. It was the sweetheart deal in Los Angeles that drove O'Malley away. O'Malley left town and took the Giants with him. You can blame O'Malley for forcing Branch Rickey out of power. You can blame him for causing Jackie Robinson to retire by trading him to the Giants. But you can't blame O'Malley for the Dodgers and Giants relocation. Speaking of the Giants, what are they dealing with? The New York baseball Giants were having problems of their own. Attendance was bad and the Polo Grounds were about to be demolished. So let's say in an alternate timeline, Moses allows O'Malley's plan to work and the Giants stay as well. But how? Remember that land in Queens O'Malley wouldn't use? In the alternate timeline, Moses offers the land to Giants owner Horace Stoneham. Even though the Giants had one foot in Minnesota, the promise of a new stadium in Queens keeps the Giants in New York. With the construction of the Dodger Dome in Brooklyn and Stoneham Stadium in Queens, the Dodgers-Giants rivalry stays in the Big Apple. Assuming the stadium timeline stays the same, the Dodger Dome is built to last forever. This would also alter the Brooklyn Nets, as that area is where the Barclays Center is. So either the Nets permanently move to Prudential Center in Newark with the Devils, or find somewhere else in Brooklyn to build a new arena. But enough about the Nets. Stoneham Stadium would be replaced with Citi Field. However, Citi Field wouldn't look like this. Because Fred Wilpon, grew up a Brooklyn Dodgers fan, he designed Citi Field to look very similar in architecture to Ebbets Field. But if the Dodgers are still in Brooklyn and the Giants play in Queens, there is no way the Giants would design their stadium to look like Ebbets Field. Speaking of ownership, guess who most likely owns the Dodgers? The Wilpons! I say most likely because there is a chance Steve Cohen buys the Dodgers, if he doesn't own the Giants in this timeline. If the Coupons own the Dodgers in this timeline, the Dodgers aren't the free-spending monster like in Los Angeles. There's a reason people nickname the Wilpons the Coupons, unless owning their childhood team actually gives them an incentive to spend money. As for the Giants, there will always be confusion between them and the football Giants. I'm gonna guess the baseball Giants will be the New York Giants, and Big Blue will be nicknamed the New York Football Giants. Now with that out of the way, let's get back to the rest of baseball. So with the Dodgers and Giants staying put in New York, you may be asking, does that mean California won't get MLB teams? No, California will still get MLB teams, but it would be later than our timeline. Let's say 3 years later. In 1961, Calvin Griffith wants out of DC. In our timeline, he chose Minnesota because he was a racist prick. Here's what he had to say.
I'll tell you why we came to Minnesota. It was when I found out you only had 15,000 blacks here. Black people don't go to ball games, but they'll fill up a wrestling ring and put up such a chant it'll scare you to death. It's unbelievable. We came here because you got good, hard-working, white people here.
In this timeline, Minnesota isn't an option, but there is a plan B. MLB wants to get into the California market. After selling the Senators to Bob Short, Griffith is awarded an expansion team. Like the Gold Rush, Griffith goes west and gets an expansion team in San Francisco. And Gene Autry, the singing cowboy, gets an expansion team in Los Angeles. Autry's team will play in a new stadium in Chavez Ravine. And because this LA team plays in the City of Angels, they are called the Los Angeles Angels. And they actually play in Los Angeles. But what about San Francisco? In 1961, San Francisco got a Western Hockey League team called the Seals, who would eventually join the NHL as the Oakland Seals. Because that team was named after the minor league baseball team, I'm gonna guess Griffith gets the Seals name first. The hockey team will go by a different name, but that's up for you to decide. So the Los Angeles Angels and San Francisco Seals are the first MLB teams in California. Now what? Let's go back to the National League. With New York having not one, but two National League teams, we don't need the Mets. So what happens with the other expansion team that joins Houston in 1962? Well, it turns out that another city in Southern California wants their own team, only a few miles south of Los Angeles. Anaheim. Now, with the Angels' name taken, I had to find a new name for this team. And because Disneyland has a castle, and I couldn't think of any better options, Anaheim names their team the Royals. And to both look different than their northern neighbor, and to connect to their home, the Royals adopt the color scheme royal blue and orange. Yes, the timeline repeats itself in some way. If you don't like the name Anaheim Royals, give me a better name in the comments that isn't Ducks or Angels. Now that raises another question. Do the Athletics move to Oakland if San Francisco is in the American League? Here's the thing with MLB back in the day. Before interleague play, it was two different leagues with two different sets of owners and teams who only met in spring training and the World Series. When the Athletics moved to Oakland, they didn't have the threat of the Giants blocking the move. The Giants were in the National League and the A's were in the American League. Only AL owners could vote on the move. But with San Francisco in the American League, the Seals can block the A's move to Oakland, which I believe they would in order to hold on to the entire Bay Area. There is no scenario where Charles Finley stays in KC. Here's what Charlie O had to say about Kansas City.
This is a horse town. No one will ever do any good here.
Both Kansas City and the American League hated Finley, and San Francisco holding territory rights would be enough to prevent the move. Sorry, Oakland. So before the 1968 season, Ewing Kauffman buys the A's and keeps them in Kansas City. Also without Finley, the A's get rid of green and gold and go back to blue and red. And the white elephant returns. But without the rush to get a team in Kansas City by 1969, the Seattle Pilots survive since they don't have a short timeline between 1967 and 1969 to renovate their stadium. And because they need a second AL expansion team in 1971, let's say this used car salesman named Bud Selig gets a team for Milwaukee after the Braves left for Atlanta. He names them the Brewers and they wear blue and red. That was actually planned for the Brewers to wear blue and red, but it wasn't able to happen due to the short timeline between the Pilots' move to Milwaukee and opening day. Instead, the Brewers wore blue and gold, which they still wear in our timeline. And because both Milwaukee and Seattle have teams, we need a second city to join Toronto in 1977. Well, there just so happens to be a city that has been waiting to get a team. Two cities, actually. Minneapolis and St. Paul. Minnesota is awarded an expansion team. Yes, they are still named the Twins. Yes, the Poleheads own them and are still cheap in this timeline. Outside of that, expansion would stay the same. The 1969 NL expansion adds Montreal and San Diego. The Senators would move to Texas, but remember, this is still the original Senators. And mentioned before, the Braves would move from Milwaukee to Atlanta, which is why we still have the Brewers. From 1977 to 1992, Major League Baseball in this timeline would look like this. The National League has 12 teams in two divisions of 6. The NL East has the Atlanta Braves, Brooklyn Dodgers, Montreal Expos, New York Giants, Philadelphia Phillies, and Pittsburgh Pirates. The NL West has the Anaheim Royals, Chicago Cubs, Cincinnati Reds, Houston Astros, San Diego Padres, and St. Louis Cardinals. Meanwhile, the American League has 14 teams with two divisions of 7. The AL East has the Baltimore Orioles, Boston Red Sox, Cleveland Indians, Detroit Tigers, Milwaukee Brewers, New York Yankees, and Toronto Blue Jays. And the AL West has the Chicago White Sox, Kansas City Athletics, Los Angeles Angels, Minnesota Twins, San Francisco Seals, Seattle Pilots, and Texas Rangers. The last 4 expansion cities stayed the same: Colorado and Florida in 1993, Arizona and Tampa Bay in 1998. And eventually the Expos moved to Washington in 2005. However, Milwaukee and Houston both don't swap leagues. Originally, with the expansion of Arizona and Tampa Bay, MLB wanted Kansas City to move. KC refused and Milwaukee later jumped leagues. But with this setup, MLB won't need to move any teams. So here's what the modern MLB looks like in this world. The NL East has the Atlanta Braves, Brooklyn Dodgers, Miami Marlins, New York Giants, and Washington Nationals. The NL Central has the Chicago Cubs, Cincinnati Reds, Philadelphia Phillies, Pittsburgh Pirates, and St. Louis Cardinals. The NL West has the Anaheim Royals, Arizona Diamondbacks, Colorado Rockies, Houston Astros, and San Diego Padres. Now in the American League, the AL East has the Baltimore Orioles, Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, Tampa Bay Rays, and Toronto Blue Jays. The AL Central has the Chicago White Sox, Cleveland Guardians, Detroit Tigers, Milwaukee Brewers, and Minnesota Twins. And finally, the AL West has the Kansas City Athletics, Los Angeles Angels, San Francisco Seals, Seattle Pilots, and Texas Rangers. Now, if you're asking how does this affect future World Series, that's up in the air. Predicting outcomes of games in an alternate sports timeline is anyone's guess. While it can give an estimate as to where teams would end up, trying to guess on-field results is a whole different story. As we've seen, the Brooklyn Dodgers and New York Giants staying in the Big Apple could have quite the effect on the baseball world, but that's just a what-if. What do you think would happen if the Dodgers and Giants never moved to California? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell, comment, and share this video with others. If you have ideas, put them in the suggestion box below. I'll see you in the next video.